Well met, lords and ladies. Jacob Bowder speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. It's been an interesting week, to say the least. And again, it's mainly behind the scenes stuff, but also some in front of the scenes too. I guess the most interesting thing is that we finally got bored of waiting for my driving instructor to get back, and so my mum has now taken it upon herself to express her disappointment by just instructing me herself as best she can, and that's been the past 3 days. So yeah, it's kind of interesting because, like, obviously it's been a while since I've been behind a wheel, so it's I was fairly rusty, and then now a lot of that rust has been removed. I mean, it does come down to muscle memory, but they do say that there's a certain time frame in which habits become, I was going to say habitual, it's too obvious. But yeah, there's some. So yeah, for that to sink in, probably got a fair ways to go. But apparently I've improved quite a lot over the last 3 days. It is also my mother saying that, so you can take that with a grain of salt if you like, but she tends to be fairly honest, I think. And the reason I say that is because from plenty of plays and such in the past, a lot of the time whenever she would compliment me or say something, she'd compliment some of the other actors as well, and but also critique some of the other performances or some of the choices, or things that quite obviously went wrong. And most of the time they tend to be the same things that I picked up on. So maybe I got my review brain from her. You never know. My dad tends to be a lot more straightforward in his particular judgment, so yeah, it is most likely from my mum. Yeah, so I guess that's that. I do remember particularly Siren Story, where they were very careful with talking about things, because I was also the director of that, but they mainly focused the compliments on the songs, the part that they obviously knew was, well, in their mind was better. In that case, of course, in my mind, I can't really say one way or the other, because again, most of the performances are down to me as the director to sort them out, so that is a reflection on me that the songs ended up being the more potent aspect ultimately. But yeah, my point is, she tends to be honest, and when she gives a compliment, you tend to know that she means it as a result of that. So yeah, and that's what I try to do as well. Now that I think about it, yeah, I have said that in the past, that I tend to say things like they are, but I also tend to try and look at the positives. It's like, well, I mean, you all, most of you watch my reviews, you know the way that I criticize things. Which I guess brings me to yesterday's review, which is, I mean, it's a more interesting one for a number of reasons. First of all, because it was the first time I'd looked into the game Star Stable Online, apart from looking back at some of KW's old videos. Once I learnt that KW had been a YouTuber for basically the same amount of time that I had, I then thought to myself, well, that's but what was I going to say now? Well, I mean, I got to check this out. I got to see, how her journey has gone, because KW is probably the most similar case of a YouTuber that I'm aware of, because obviously most of the other YouTubers that started, more than a decade ago, their journeys have gone to the point where I would have found them to begin with, rather than with KW. I was introduced to her, so again, that was what I was thinking. Of course, those videos only go back 6 years at this point, rather than the 10 or 11 that were supposed to be, because at the time she said it was because of copper that she got very afraid of what that could mean. But then after that, I kind of thought to myself, well, some of these videos are from 2018, which was, and copper, the FCC fine from copper came from 2019. And also KW mentioned that one of the things that she was worried about was copyright, because at some point there was some big talks about YouTube copyright and how it was going to end up increasing to the point where a lot of the fair use policies were in danger of being overturned. But that was not what copper was about. Copper was about YouTube collecting data from under 13s, which is illegal, and being fined as a result of it, and having to implement copper compliant restrictions to the videos themselves. So that was that's why you have to mark videos as being for kids or not for kids. And when copper came through, the wording was so vague that almost anything at all could count as something that would be made for kids. So I remember off the top of my head, stuff could include, things about pets, stories, animation, like a lot of stuff that is very, very vague. The thing is that it was kind of worded in a way that you say, could include these things. Look in your videos to see if they're these things, and that's why they might be made for kids or not made for kids. It's the same reason that AFMAL pivoted towards child-friendly content after that came through. Not because she wasn't child-friendly already, but I mean, she ventured into some darker, more adult territories occasionally, especially because that audience of Minecraft roleplayers that was growing up. I don't mean myself. I was already 16 when I started watching AFMAL. I mean more so the people who started when they were like 10, 11, and therefore were turning 15, 16 when My Street was still wrapping up and Minor Demons was coming out, etc., etc. So that's more of what copper was. What KW was describing was an event that happened a year before, which was Article 13. Article 13 was an EU document that was intended to pass that if things had gone according to plan, would have overturned a lot of the things to do with fair use, or as it's referred to in the EU, permitted use. And because that's the strictest restriction that would have been in place, that would have affected anyone who was based outside of the EU, because YouTube can't take that risk. So it would have meant that a lot of things, just showing certain branded images or copyrighted images could get you like logos on shirts, in theory, would have been grounds for some sort of content ID. And this is around the time that content ID still hadn't really worked itself out yet. It's been getting better, but YouTube for years at this point had been this was back around the time when you could just keep the revenue from a particular video immediately before you release a claim or something. Nowadays they have a little bit of like a vacuum or something for some time while a claim can be disputed, and then the revenue can be released. Reason being because YouTube videos tend to make their most revenue that they can whenever in the first 48 hours of a video upload. So if something gets content ID'd immediately, but then you release the claim anyway, you've gained most of the revenue that the video is going to get at any point. Excluding, of course, Patreon donations, you know, merch deals, etc., etc. Memberships, those are all directly to the channel, so they're not video dependent necessarily. Or Patreon's dependent, obviously not. YouTube itself is dependent, it's like goes to the person, is what I meant to say. But yeah, so that's why it was such a big thing. But on top of that, there was also a fine that could have been imposed. That was more a copper thing. They said it could be fined up to $67,000, but that's mainly, you know, if you can afford that fine. They would have gone. I'm not sure if anyone. I don't know if anyone actually did get a copper fine in the end, because most of the time now we know after the copper restrictions came in, we know you can just mark a video as not for kids, and most of that stuff goes away. Even if it's for adults and kids. It's if it's for kids only, then you have to, you know, bear in mind that stuff, and you know, there's the comments get restricted and all that stuff. Article 13, I don't remember what the fines would have been specifically. I think it more have been a case of, you know, the risk of a channel being taken down, because YouTube, as far as copyright goes, you're gonna get so many strikes before your video gets taken down. So remember when I had my community guideline strikes, which is different to copyright, if I'd gotten 2 more of those within the same 90-day period, that would have been the end of my channel. And so, yeah, I think the same thing applies to copyright. So again, KW had, I guess, did a bit of a brand overhaul, let's say, and probably veered away towards that. And then because copyright came out a year later, in her mind, she's placing those two things together into one, even though they're not actually the same thing. Which I guess is kind of a bit of a example of the phenomenon that was explained in one of the recent videos that we reviewed, which was the A Memories Recipe episode 2 from Siege YT. That video, they are drilling there, so I'm going to move over this way. So yeah, that video explained like a phenomenon where 2 unrelated events can be mistaken for one thing leading to another. So, you know, KW has a fear of copyright. Copper comes out a year later. KW, thinking back to the past, references one thing but not the other. Or in the case of the Siege YT video, my theory is that Vivian remembers being rescued from the bullies that one time, and also running after the person going to graduate, going to a different school, and then gets hit by a car. And my theory is that those 2 things were not the same time. Either it was because the graduation thing, because that character was wearing different clothes in that second part of the flashback. So it could be the graduation thing was actually the reason she was in the road, or it could be it was a different thing altogether, but she also was still thinking back in my mind about the person she never got to pursue. Maybe because she was in the hospital and therefore never got to say goodbye or something like that. Which is interesting, because the series is called A Memories Recipe. We've had a lot of recipe stuff, not so much on the memory angles just yet. I say that as I'm on episode 2, by the way. So a lot of this doesn't really apply necessarily. But I do enjoy the fact that there's lingering questions and mystery. Because yeah, some people seem to not really understand that you can actually you can do that. You can lead the audience onto further questions and present things visually, and that's kind of the essence of visual storytelling. Which is my segue back into Star Stable Online, which is what I was describing before. I mentioned the whole rant about YouTube lore. Hold on. So yeah, in the case of Star Stable Online, that was yesterday's review was of a was called Workhorse, which was the product of what was Alexandra Pandanite was the name. There was a video that that blew up back when it first came out. The remake of it, the remastered version, not so much, but the story is still remembered apparently. And as well, those early projects that KW was mildly involved in at the time of being published. So apparently KW has a very similar origin story to Lanipator. Lanipator, if people don't know, was at one point injured. I think I was going to say rugby, but I just remembered that, you know, he's American, so therefore it probably wasn't rugby. But some sort of sports injury. Couldn't play anymore, and also couldn't act anymore. So he was basically stuck at home and exceptionally bored. And in order to you know, entertain himself, he found Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, and eventually decided to use some of the old Yu Yu Hakusho DVDs that he possessed and abridge those. And that's how Lanipator's channel actually started. And then, of course, you know, a couple of years later, you get to the time of you know, the formation of Team 4-Star, and Lanipator actually also inspired Takahata 101, who in turn inspired Kaiser Neko, the three main writers of Team 4-Star, all because of that one moment. And similarly, KW and Alexandra Pandanite apparently both contracted the flu around the same time, recovered together, and because of that, that started making YouTube videos. And that's a very wholesome story. I mean, KW credits Alexandra as one of the main inspirations. If it weren't for her, she wouldn't be making YouTube videos today. Which of course got BB thinking about what her inspirations would have been. And I guess also myself. But I think I know fairly well how my YouTube lore actually went. But just to go over Star Stable Online, the Workhorse story quickly, that was one that KW really wanted to be there for, make sure that we were actually nice to to Alexandra, who was in single digits at the time, not subscriber based, I mean age based. Maybe also subscriber based, I'm not actually sure, I don't know. I didn't ask that. Yeah, that's but obviously, like, our method with gacha review is always to try to give everyone the same kind of balanced, I suppose, experience. You know, if your video is on there, we're gonna look at how it's put together. You know, judge kind of what level of editing we're dealing with, and then from there start, you know, cracking the jokes, giving the advice, you know, just making the review. You know, age rarely comes into it because it's not a factor that we know for everyone, and so we don't really say too often. But this time we did make a bit of an exception, as per KW's request. And yeah, that's it. Not that we really had to too much. There was actually some very surprisingly impressive effects, you know, whether for the age or just for someone's early point in editing evolution. I don't think I was using as many editing effects in 2016. In fact, I think a lot of the major storytelling techniques that I do now was actually, you know, significantly much later. I was far older by that point. So yeah, not Not too shabby, not too shabby at all. But they're gonna be thinking, you know, because obviously Star Stable Online has a whole different culture around it, you know, than Gacha would, you know, or Minecraft for that matter. So, you know, there's two games that I'm very familiar with and how they actually form, and then, you know, here I was critiquing a story from a game that I haven't played at all, apart from scrolling back through KW's channel, which is why I brought that up in the first place into the YouTube lore thing. I'm not too worried about having gone on a rant about YouTube lore, just because apparently people seem to enjoy when I do that. At least Prism of Voices did. She said as much in the most recent, well, in that same Star Stable Online review, actually. She referenced the fact that I talked about a lot of I talked about YouTube lore from something about that, but not Article 13 or anything. Oh no, it was YouTube mechanics, I guess, because I was talking about how January and February tend to be in terms of monetization and such. I guess as someone who recently opened a Patreon, Prism would be interested in that, mostly because that would affect the audience and probably also, therefore, the donations that would be coming through from there. Not through from there. But I guess as far as YouTube lore goes, that's another question for me. You know, what led me to start making YouTube videos? I mean, people who are familiar with my channel now probably imagine that the answer is AFMAL, but that's actually not the case. And some people who are thinking back to my first videos and referencing people might say Sky did everything. That's kind of similar, but not entirely. Well, the reason I started watching YouTube on the regular was because of Paul Sawyers Jr., which, you know, considered to be like the grandfather of Minecraft content. Paul Sawyers Jr. blew up with his first Minecraft survival tutorial back when Minecraft was still in beta, about how to survive, and from then made the whole Survive and Thrive series of just, like, you know, very basic Minecraft mechanics, but again, it was about teaching people when the game was brand new, so there was nowhere else for them to find a lot of those details. It's a similar thing to the mod showcases that would also skyrocket, well, Sky into popularity later on, just with the different mods. And in the case of Sky, a more comedic edge. In the case of Dan TDM, more, I guess, lore and characters related. But yeah, there's a lot of mod showcases that were around. That's, you know, that's neither here nor there for right now. But yeah, Paul Sawyers Jr. was doing all that, but with just regular Minecraft, and then started doing Minecraft roleplays. You're like, Man vs. Minecraft I found like significantly later, but people were very into that one. Minecraft Dad, which is just a server, you know, with his kids. That was the real thing that I just returned, because I was thinking, like, wow, you know, I'd seen much, you know, two-person Minecraft at the time, which was because what my perspective on Minecraft servers was that they you know, there was always so many people there, kind of like Star Stable Online, where I asked the question of if people got in the way of shots when you're taking them, and the answer is 100% yes. Apparently. But yeah, that's the thing with still the thing with public servers to this day. There's so many people there, and the only way to toggle off appearances is, you know, to have everyone go invisible, which kind of defeats the purpose. So yeah. But what was I going to say? Nope, completely forgot. But so yeah. Then after that, of course, was the first modded roleplay that I saw, which was Tale of Kingdoms. That's why I've had to got into Minecraft roleplays. By this point, I'd also, in one spur-of-the-moment decision, googled Minecraft Mario, thinking that I would get like a Mario mod or something like that. And I want to make a video about this at some point. But that single YouTube search changed a lot of things for me, because that was the first time I saw the Minecraft Super Mario Brothers not mod pack, adventure map, and the first result of that was, of course, the, at the time, Sky Does Minecraft video, and that was the first time I watched the Sky video, and then I've watched, you know, all 4 parts of that, then checked out some other ones. First channel I ever subscribed to, because I didn't realize what Paul Jr. meant at the time. I was that young. Eventually went back and subscribed to Paul Jr., obviously, of course. But yeah, wow, that's and that was how I started watching videos. How I started making them was because I wanted to do a school project, which I decided to do in Minecraft, partly inspired by someone who'd actually made. We got given like examples. We were supposed to present the life of Jesus. It was for religion class, and we were supposed to talk about the life of Jesus and present it in some form. And I remember we were shown one of the projects in the past that was done in live action. Someone, you know, there was, you know, these 3 students. I think there were 3 of them. One of them played Jesus, the other one played the other people, and they actually put together some costumes, a few props, a few sets, and at one point one of their dad was actually a policeman. So when it came time for the Last Supper and for Jesus to be arrested, they actually got into big, "Are you Jesus of Nazareth? There's a warrant for your arrest, Jesus," and then, you know, actually got taken off in an actual police car. And, you know, by this point I know a lot of my classmates are not exactly camera happy, so they don't really they weren't really able to, or willing, I should say, to show up on camera. But of course, I guess this is kind of a foreshadowing of other aspects of my future. Actually, I wanted to do the project in Minecraft. So, in a weird way, I started making videos because I was making a Minecraft roleplay. But those are unlisted, or they're now made private because of how YouTube a while ago made a thing where every video before 2017 that was unlisted would be made private for some sort of data reason. That's law that I don't really have full access to. But from there, we essentially we got together. We actually did some filming in person. I had to do a bit of overdub because the thing that I found in order to make sound, we actually didn't work out with EasyVid how to record audio and sound at the same time. There is a feature, but it's still a bit out of sync. There's also several audio issues that came up, or upload issues that came up afterwards. And I was stuck using EasyVid for, honestly, until Mutant Girl. Some Mutant Girl episodes were filmed with the same terrible video recorder that I used back when I first started. I've not had much luck with a lot of those for varying reasons. But yeah, but actually, it was just a demonstration. I think my brother had it on his computer as a test, went around and made like a video or something, and then showed off just basic stuff like how music was included, because EasyVid had some music options that you could have, but would also interfere with the video if they were just exclusive there. That's why someone picked some episodes are completely silent. And then from there, you know, I heard, like, you know, his voice is like, whoa, this sounds like one of those, one of the videos I've been watching for like 2 years now. Or maybe one. It was 2012, 2013, something like that. Anyway, it's like, oh wow. And then, you know, and then afterwards there was a title card that I could see, and I was like, wow, okay. This thing can, you could make your own videos with video and audio and a title card. Oh, wow, wowie, wow. So yeah, after experimenting a bit with the project and getting used to that, and also having to, you know, overdub myself again as most of the characters, which I guess also foreshadowed the voice acting that I would tend to try and do for multiple roles, even though most of them sounded very similar to myself. And also having to improv at the top of the lines too, over the animation in quotes. So that is the origin. And then as summer rolled around, I then decided to, you know, make the first public video, Mario 63, episode 1, The Invasion, and that was that. I had some other ones that were supposed to come out before that, but they got corrupted, so yeah. That's why I start off with, you know, my name is Thorin Cocoman, and you'll see in Minecraft later on. My Minecraft username, of course, was Cocoman3, and so because of that, I decided that I was the third Cocoman along. Hobbit films were new, and made the I made my username Thorin Cocoman until, again, I was in a play where I played Jacob Grimm. If I joined the Butter Brothers, you know the story of Jacob Butter, the name. It was a thing I did around the time where I would I won't call this method acting, but I like to address other people by their character roles, and have them do the same thing for me, sort of to, you know, keep myself in the spirit. It was kind of like, you know, playing roleplay games in the playground or something, but you also, you know, got to act on top of that. And so I was not yet ready to say goodbye to calling myself Jacob, and so I decided, yeah, let's just do that for the rest of my life. Which was a very interesting experimental decision for my 13-year-old self to make, but there you go. But the Minecraft later on thing was because there were some Minecraft videos I recorded that I was planning to show before Mario 63 came out, but didn't really do so. It was a terrible introduction to the channel, but I guess we all start somewhere, and that's where I started too. And this video might be over because this road is being very much blocked, so yeah, I'm gonna go back the way I came. But that's how I started making videos. It was more of a case of my own family inspiring me, trying to do what I kind of do now, play around with different like mediums of storytelling. Also this week we had a we had someone visit over for their birthday. Was that last week maybe? One of the things we talked about was one of their actual business ventures as far as different forms of immersive storytelling. And he mentioned specifically one thing he knows about me is that I like to explore different types of storytelling, which I very much do. I mean, I guess that's kind of the pivoting to voice acting, but also gacha. As soon as I discovered that, I was like, yeah, let's do this. And I mentioned Star Stable Online. It's like, oh well, so people haven't done this thing here, well maybe this. Toka Life World, yeah, why not? I'll make a couple of demo videos and see what kind of story comes out of that. And people are always like, well, why didn't you do, you know, this thing here, or why could this be this thing, or the bidet? And then now they got used to it. The life of Jesus had never been told in Minecraft, to my knowledge, and I think still hasn't been done in a public manner. But if you want to find out more about that, you can watch the video that I did with Sophie reacting to those. Which reminds me, we should be going to Spain somewhere around the time I'm supposed to next meet up with Sophie, so I'm gonna have to make other alternative plans. We shall see. But yeah, that's my story. You know, I think that needs to be more of a thing people do. I know Draw My Life was a trend some time ago, but I think maybe now we kind of now we should really do like not necessarily like someone's entire life, maybe a little bit, but then know how they started. You know, their YouTube origin. That might be a new thing to do. Not necessarily, you know, a Draw My Origin, but some form. That should be a new trend. I like that one. But you never know. What about all of you? I mean, if you want to make a video about it, please go ahead. If not, I'm interested to see in the comments if anyone made it this far into the video. Then tell me your origin story. How did you start making YouTube videos? You know, what made you change to what you were doing today, and you know, maybe what plans for the future? Just something like that. But yeah, until then, of course, the main call to action remains, as always, please leave a like or dislike because your opinion matters. Subscribe if not done already. And hit notifications too. I keep forgetting to say that. And on that note, until next time, farewell.